Final Fantasy XV ha sido un juego que no ha dejado a nadie indiferente. Muy esperado por los fans de la saga y del género, hay algunos a los que no les terminó de convencer y otros se quedaron prendados del viaje épico de estos 4 colegas tan carismáticos. Hoy estamos aquí para contaros una historia muy especial que ocurrió gracias al juego de Square Enix, Final Fantasy XV, a través de los ojos de un desarrollador indie y de una persona que no había jugado a casi nada en su vida, su madre.
Hi.
Ram Ismail es desarrollador, director estratégico y chico de los negocios de Blambir, el estudio que fundó junto a su compañero Jan Willim en 2010. Desde entonces han encontrado el éxito gracias a juegos como Luftrausers, Ridiculous Fishing o Nuclear Throne, un juego al que aquí le tenemos mucho cariño, ya lo sabéis.
¿Te han matado ya? Sí, tío.
Además de destacar con su faceta como desarrollador, es un hombre de mundo y lleva un tiempo viajando para dar charlas y expandir un claro mensaje. Compartir conocimiento es la clave para el desarrollo indie. Eso le ha llevado a utilizar Twitter muy a menudo, y bendito sea, porque de esa costumbre nació la historia que os vamos a contar hoy, a través de un hashtag: Mom vs Final Fantasy XV. Tuvimos la suerte de estar en el Game Jam On en el campus ESNE de Madrid, y pudimos hablar con Rami un buen rato para que nos contara él mismo toda esta historia.
Well, so I've been a game developer at Blambir for the past 8 years or so, and early on that started meaning that I travel a lot. So I've been traveling the world for the past 8 years, and when I come home every weekend, I visit my mom, I visit my dad, and I come back and I give, I tell a little story of where I've been and the place I've been and, the people I've met, and my mom just had all of this knowledge about those people that I didn't think I ever told her. And I was like, have you been reading games news? And she's like, yes, I'd like to know what's happening in your world. And I was like, but you've never played a video game. And she's like, I know. And I'm like, well, you know what? We're going to find you a video game. And just so you understand what you're reading about, like, we're going to have you play a game.
What the hell is it you want? Quit screwing with my head! You gotta be kidding me.
So I started searching for a game that was accessible and that had that would fit my mom's preferences in media. My mom is very much a Lord of the Rings kind of fan. She loves the Lord of the Rings movie series. She loves the story of a small group of friends going against ultimate evil, a godlike evil. So when I upgraded my Xbox One to an Xbox One S, I gave my old Xbox One to my mom, and I got her a copy of Final Fantasy 15, which I had just finished, and I loved. And the thing that got me is in that game, when you attack, Noctis, your main character, automatically walks towards the enemy you want to fight with. So she didn't have to do the precision, because my mom had never touched a controller before, right? If you are in a fight, your only inputs are attack, which automatically makes your character run to an enemy and attack. Defend, which automatically makes your character dodge or block or whatever is most necessary. And warp, which will teleport you to a nearby enemy or safe spot. She actually never used warp, that was too complicated for her. But attack and defense, she got that down pretty well. There's the little parry mechanic where if you block and then press attack immediately after, you parry. She figured that one out near the end of the game, but she could play it. That was the most important thing. And even when she died, and at the start of the game she would die a lot, she wouldn't get frustrated because it didn't show you a game over. Noctis just got back up and went back to the fight. So for her that didn't feel like losing. So she didn't know how to walk, she didn't know how to rotate the camera. It took her weeks to learn how to walk and use the camera at the same time. And until that time, she would walk in a straight line until she would hit a wall, and then rotate the camera, and then walk in a straight line again until she would hit a wall. But having that attack button allowed her to move. So I got her those two, and we booted it up, and we made her an account, and she started on Final Fantasy 15. Yeah. Because so in Final Fantasy, there's this moment where you meet the antagonist, right? But it's sort of like a questionable antagonist. His name is Arden, and he's either the ultimate boss, or he might be a secret help. The diagonal, his theme is a little dun 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 dun. dun 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 dun. Like they communicate everything to make him look like slightly confusing. So I was very excited for my mom to meet him. And I got a text message from her and it was like, hey, I got to a new place. And I was like, what's the place? She's like, Golden Key, it's a very long walk. I'm like, you walked that? She's like, yeah, I walked that. I couldn't find the car. I'm like, the car is on the map. She's like, I couldn't find it. I'm like, but it doesn't matter. I met this shady guy and I'm like, okay, what was shady about him? She's like, he was in all black. I'm like, okay. She's like, yeah, and I walked up to him and he tried to sell me weapons. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, no, I just walked up and I said hi, and he's like, hey, you want to buy guns? And I was like, I ran away, and I didn't trust it. And I'm like, I couldn't figure out what she was talking about, so I walked to that place in my copy of Final Fantasy. Right where you end, there's like a little dock that you meet Arden on. Right before there is a shopkeeper who sells weapons, and to her that was terrifying because there's some random guy who just goes like, hey, you want to buy guns? And my mom's like, no, hell no, I don't want to buy guns.
She doesn't know the concept of random shop.
Exactly. For us, that's a store. For her, it's a human trying to sell her weapons on a street corner. That's suspicious, right?
A man of no consequence.
Yeah, right.
Final Fantasy 15 doesn't have what you would call a happy ending per se, right? It's not an unhappy ending. It's just it's a difficult ending. It's not an ending that gives you everything you want, and it's very much not meant to give you everything you want. And I think for my mom, it must have, like for us, it's kind of like for people who have been gaming all of their lives, it's kind of natural that you can feel friendship towards characters, right? That you can like characters, that you can get used to them, that you get used to being a character, right? And that means that, you know, if you lose somebody in a game, that can feel like you lost somebody, and that you know, learning that one of your favorite characters in a game series dies can hurt, right? And for us that makes sense. I think for my mom, what she hadn't realized while she was playing is how much she got to like the boys, right? How much she got to like Noctis and Gladio and Prompto and Ignis. And I think she hadn't realized that they had become friends to her, and that her being Noctis had become natural to her for like the hour or 2 hours that she would play every night, or every other night. So when the game ended, you know, it doesn't end well for every character, basically. And yeah, she was a little shocked by the fact that you know, that hurt, I think. And I think that was actually, that ended up being very helpful. Like, it was interesting to see just how literal she took everything. Like, so when somebody asked her to do a side quest, she would say, no, because I'm a prince, I'm not gonna do your work for you. And that kind of stuff. Most importantly, I realized that one thing that Final Fantasy does so well is that the game is playable, completely playable and beatable with minimal knowledge of any of the mechanics in it. You don't have to know how to upgrade your character, you don't have to know how to use magic, you don't have to know how to equip items. You can beat Final Fantasy just playing through it and just walking through the world. It was so fascinating to see somebody, because you know, if you've been gaming for a long time in your life, you usually started when you were younger, so you didn't have all of the context of the real world. When we see a broken wall in Zelda, we put a bomb next to it to blow it up because we know there's a treasure behind it. My mom sees a broken wall in Zelda. She wonders why nobody fixed it, right? And that makes way more sense in the real world. Like, what? It's a broken wall, somebody should fix that. Instead of, there's a broken wall, let's see what's behind it. But my mom brings decades of real life experience to a video game, and seeing how that translates into how you think about games was fascinating for me as a game developer as well. And sometimes a little scary in that way, where you're like, wow, I've been really I've really been taught to think about these in-game things for decades without even knowing that this was a thing I learned, right? Like, you have so much knowledge about how games communicate that is invisible. And as a creator, you know, working with invisible assumptions is scary because it means that I'm making choices without being aware of it. And I'd much rather know what I'm putting in my game and how I'm putting it in and why I'm putting it in, because that's the way you make your best games. And, I feel like I'm a better game developer for watching her play those games.
My name is Rami Ismail, one half of Dutch independent studio Vlaambeer, and I'm thankful. I am thankful to my parents, who have each in their own way inspired me to be driven, humble, and curious. Their presence here tonight means the world to me.